Welcome back to Flick Summary. Today we'll be diving into a film titled The Woman in Black. Enjoy the recap. Three adorable young girls are playing independently with porcelain dolls in the nursery room. While all three are dressed in what appear to be nursery dresses, they look at the back wall before suddenly staring at each other. The day is clear and nobody is present. They stand up, hold hands, and walk to the window wall without saying a word. They spontaneously jump after opening the three windows. A moment of silence is observed. A female scream is heard out of nowhere. Cut to young agent Arthur Kipps. Because this real estate company is not a charity, and he will not be given another chance if he makes another mistake, his boss, Mr. Bentley, tells him in a rude manner that this is his last chance. Joseph, Arthur's 7-year-old son, says goodbye. This is a serious boy, and because of Arthur's work commitment, he will be left alone. He will be looked after in the interim by the nurse. On a piece of paper marked Tuesday, no capital here, Joseph has drawn himself, his parents, and himself as an angel perched on a cloud. When his father questions Joseph about why he drew Arthur with a dejected expression, Joseph replies that it's just how he looks. By train, Arthur gets around. He engages in conversation with another passenger, before turning to look at a young child who is also riding with them. Arthur thinks back to the day his son was born. The doctor immediately apologizes for not being able to save her, but the nurse proudly announced, "It's a boy," and the boy was in perfect condition. Arthur observes how his late wife Stella Kipps' horrified face is covered with a blood-stained sheet right away. Sam Daly, a fellow passenger, offers to drive him into town. Additionally, he extends a dinner invitation to him and his wife the following day. The town is pitch black, and everyone appears terrified and glum. When parents notice the visitor, they tell their kids to enter. Kipps is kept in the attic of the local inn, which is where the three young girls jumped from at the beginning of the movie. Mr. Fisher appears to be an impolite, unforgiving host. The local attorney, Mr. Jerome, is visited by Kipps the following day. While Mr. Kipps advises that he stay up until Friday at the very least in order to conduct a thorough and impartial evaluation of all the items in the house, Jerome advises that he leave town as soon as possible. Kipps refuses to go to the mansion despite a cabbie waiting to take him to the train station. Since nobody else will take Kipps there, the cab driver demands 6 shillings for the trip. The town and the solitary, deserted mansion are connected by a thin causeway that winds through the marshes. Kipps is dropped off by the driver just outside the mansion's grounds. He responds that it will have to be at 5 because of the tide, when Arthur asks him to pick him up at 3. Arthur walks onto the grounds. He climbs to the second floor of the house because it appears that no one is inside. Before getting to work in front of a stack of papers, he glances at Joseph's drawing. He notices a nest of ravens inside one of the bedrooms. He is startled when a raven rushes out and takes off. Arthur glances out the window because he believes he has heard something. Among the tombstones in the garden, a dark shadow can be seen. The raven circles before gently landing on the mattress. When Arthur turns to look outside once more, the cemetery is empty. Arthur leaves quickly. He can't see anything or anyone for that matter due to the dense fog. There is a foreboding sense that something terrible is about to occur. However, only the driver, who just got there to pick up Arthur, is there. He warns Arthur to exercise caution. The driver informs Arthur that some boys drowned in the marshes, after hearing what he believed to be children's cries in the distance. In order to report the intruder to the police, Arthur rushes to the police station. No villager would voluntarily visit that mansion, according to Collins, the constable. The police officer enters the basement to search for something. Victoria Hardy, who is extremely ill and spitting blood after consuming lye, is accompanied by 2 kids as they arrive at that precise moment. Arthur screams but is helpless to save the child. Vicky passes away in his arms. When Arthur returns to his lodgings, he believes he can hear the whimpering of a woman. He calls out for Mrs. Fisher, but it turns out that the sound is being imitated by a pet raven. He is given a drink by Mrs. Fisher. Everything seems to be going well at the dinner with the Dalys, though the conversation is a little awkward at first. That is, until Elizabeth Daly has a fit and needs to be sedated. Sam Daly claims that although the town is full of superstitions, they are all just illusions in a later conversation. Later that evening, Arthur witnesses Elizabeth comforting and cuddling one of her dogs in a cradle made entirely of white lace. The terrified girl who is being held captive in a room tells Arthur to leave her alone, because he has killed Victoria when Arthur goes looking for Mr. Jerome. Another lost girl is lamented by the villagers, but Daly dismisses their sorrow as superstition. The second time Arthur is being driven around by Sam in his car, the camera is focused on a cross that has been placed alongside a watery path. Sam brings Arthur to the house and offers to pick him up there at 11 o'clock, but Arthur decides to stay the night. He borrows Sam's dog. When Arthur spins a daguerreotype, he briefly glimpses the woman in black's dark eyes. Scribbled photos. The dog starts to bark as a shadow moves by. Nathaniel Drablow's gravestone is nearby, and Arthur follows the dog that is barking. Arthur notices the woman in black retreating from the window as they return to the mansion. When Arthur enters that room, he notices the deteriorated view from the window. The woman in black appears behind him and vanishes right away. Although he cannot see her, he feels something and looks around. He discovers card signed mummy from the woman in black, who was Nathaniel's birth mother, addressed to him in a wooden box. Janet, who shared a grave with Nathaniel, was that woman. It appears from the documents that Janet gave her child up for adoption. Additionally, it is revealed that Nathaniel was adopted by Janet's sister Alice, who raised Nathaniel as her own child, while keeping this a secret. Arthur learns from numerous letters that Janet was extremely upset that she wasn't allowed to see her son. Nathaniel was killed in an accident, but his body was never discovered in the marshlands. In the photographs of the Drablows, Janet is depicted as a shadowy figure and Nathaniel is the subject of the images. When Arthur nods off, the shadow of the woman in black approaches, but is scared away by the dog's barking. Following the dark corridor up to the locked room, Arthur awakens. He recalls his wife's death taking place in a locked room. He tries to open the door but is unsuccessful. He descends to try to find something to open it when all of a sudden, it is wide open. He grabs a candle and an axe. The audience can briefly see the woman in black rocking herself, while the rocking chair is rocking on its own. He says, "You could have saved him," as the mechanical toys watch him from beneath the wallpaper. Transcribed in blood. Returning to a window, he can clearly make out Janet's shrill screaming face. He can see images of numerous dead children who are rotting and suffering in the rainy night outside. He sees the woman in black's black footprints as he runs back to the mansion, and he follows them to the room. Janet is seen by him hanging herself. He notices the woman in black coming from the opposite end of the corridor. As he steps outside the room, Nathaniel emerges from the bed as Arthur shuts himself away in a space. When he steps outside, he sees Sam Daly waiting to pick him up. Arthur returns to town and notices Jerome's home is on fire. As soon as he enters the home, he is able to observe Lucy Jerome, a girl, setting herself on fire under the influence of the woman in black, who is present and silently supporting her. There is nothing Arthur can do to save her. Arthur receives some comfort from Sam Daly. In front of Janet's tombstone, Elizabeth Daly speaks to Arthur about her. She is able to hear the children speak, and they claim that the woman in black was always present to force all of those kids to commit suicide in some way, because she had also lost a child. Elizabeth throws another tantrum, repeating she is coming over and over as Sam shows up. Elizabeth sketches a picture of Arthur and his son next to a train engine before she passes out. Arthur recognizes himself in the drawing because his son had previously drawn him. Sam is persuaded by Arthur to help him locate Nathaniel's body, so they can give him a proper burial and reunite Nathaniel with his mother. He uses a rope to tie himself to Daly's car. Arthur enters the marshland's black, slimy muck. Finally, Sam releases Arthur and pulls out what appears to be a hidden wagon that contains Nathaniel's body. Arthur climbs over the wagon and out of the bog while carrying Nathaniel's body. Because the car is unable to support it, Nathaniel's body is shrouded by Arthur. Then, as he waits for the woman in black, he places his mother's postcards and other mechanical toys around the deceased person. Sam observes his deceased son walking into a room. He follows his son into the room, where he is confined and cannot be heard by Arthur. Even more darkness descends upon the corridor. Arthur is yelled at by the woman in black, who also frightens him. But then she vanishes. The second door also opens, releasing Sam from prison. Nathaniel's body is placed on top of Janet's after they open her tomb. The woman in black appears to still have a hard time forgiving in the following scene. A few days later, Joseph and his nurse are met by the two friends at the train station. As Arthur and Sam converse, the nurse goes to pay for the tickets to return to London. As a train approaches, Joseph lets go of Arthur's hand and leaps onto the railing. Arthur looks at the woman in black before glancing over to his son, who is strolling along the tracks. Joseph is about to be run over by the train, as Arthur leaps onto the tracks to save him. Through the openings in the moving wagons, Sam can make out the dead children in their entirety, as well as the screaming woman in black on the other side of the track. Joseph is being held by Arthur in a deserted train station. They proceed together along the tracks as Stella warmly welcomes them both to the afterlife. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.